Welcome to A Brief Pause. We take a moment to talk about many topics in the pet industry, whether it be health and wellness, training, new fashion trends, new food, whatever it is. If it's new, we're going to learn about it. Today, we have a really, really special guest because one of the other topics we like to cover is rescue. And this is a dog mom of now four who I would say is now quite an expert in rescue because she's taken on some dogs that have special needs and they're all very, very different. She's probably better known as Ella Bean's mom, but I wanted to welcome Hilary Sloan to the podcast today. Hello, how are you?
Hi, Annie. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be on your podcast today, and congrats on the new podcast. So exciting.
Thank
Um,
you.
yeah.
So, first of all, we have to introduce the new puppy. Her Ella Bean is famous on Instagram. I should back up a second. Ella Bean is a famous Instagram influencer puppy, cutest thing you've ever seen. But she's one of four. So there's Coconut Bean, there's Fifi Bean, and now the new one is Poppy Bean. Correct?
That is correct. We've got a little bouquet of beans over here. But Ella was absolutely the first, the original. We've actually been together 13 years. She just had her 13-year gotcha day,
I don't
which
think
is a
I even
very,
realized
very
that
long time.
myself. Wow, that is a
Yeah.
long time.
Yeah. Yeah. My
So,
my longest relationship ever.
yeah, and so, like, how many followers does Ella Bean have on Instagram? She's got quite a good following.
Yeah, over 120,000. It sort of fluctuates from there, but between 120, 125, give or take.
Awesome. So Ella Bean was rescued from a puppy mill, correct, by a humane society?
So I don't know the full details of her background. What I do know is that she was pulled out of a puppy mill. I rescued her in South Florida, and I actually found her in a shelter. And the information I have about her background was based on what the shelter gave me, which was that she had been in a puppy mill and they had pulled a number of dogs out of that facility into their shelter and were adopting them out. Back then, I mean, we're talking like what, I guess 13 years. What is that? 2008, something like that.
Mhm.
We didn't even use the term puppy mill. I think they called it like dog farm or commercial breeding. We didn't even talk about it in those terms. And so I didn't really think about what I was doing in the larger context of the pet industry. Um, I came from a family where all of the dogs that I grew up with were from really, really wonderful, reputable breeders that were highly decorated and passionate about their breed and breeding for health and conformation. And the dogs that we were getting were typically puppies that just didn't, exhibit the right maybe personality for the show ring, or maybe had a spot in the wrong place, or whatever the case might be. So I was raised in that world, and really had never even considered rescue until I walked into that shelter and met Elby, and she just, there was something about her. I mean, sure, she was tiny, but there was something like in her eyes that I just felt drawn to. And I already had a dog at the time. I had a Cavalier King Charles Spaniel named Louie, and so then Ella came home with us, and the three of us became a little trio. And that was my first um, time rescuing, and then didn't rescue again until, actually, so Coconut has been with us, I would say, I think it's almost 5 years, 4 years, 5 years, something like that. So really, Ella, I had her for a very long time before we kept rescuing, and adding more to the crew.
Yeah, and so, for anyone listening, definitely check out the Instagram. It's at Ella Bean the dog, right? Is the full name?
That is the account, yes.
Yeah, so I think, she definitely has that charm with a lot of people. Obviously, she's got this big
Mhm.
following. She's just got the face. She's got the it factor, but also you're really amazing at the content, the photographs
Thank
that
you.
you take, just documenting her wonderful life. There's so many points to hit about rescue that I think there'll be multiple episodes. What I wanted to focus on with you is the fact that over the years, you've now taken on, excuse me, rescues that maybe not everyone would take on, or the fact that they're just such uniquely different dogs that you've had to, just like with a human child or anything else that's a living, conscious, breathing
Yeah.
being. I can't speak.
Mhm.
Um,
They're unique, yes.
they have different needs, and this would go for a dog bred as well, but the rescue can,
Mhm.
in their situations has thrown some other things. So I wanted to ask you a lot about what you've learned from dog
Sure.
to dog and what it's taken. I know Coconut's pretty easygoing, right? It's Fifi has
Coconut's
taken
pretty
a lot of
easygoing.
extra.
Yeah, yeah. And I would say this, that as we get into this, like the one thing I want to stress about rescue is that I have consciously taken on dogs that have unique challenges because I have the time and resources to do so. They're the bulk of rescue dogs that you find out there are not challenging. They don't have health issues. A lot of dogs are coming from situations where, either the family could no longer take care of the pet anymore for, I mean, these days, financial reasons, housing reasons, all kinds of unfortunate things like that. Unfortunately, we're seeing a lot of dogs enter the shelter system, who've lost family members to COVID, which is so devastating. So I just want to preface this with that I have specifically chosen to take on these pets because I could, and I feel blessed to do so. And in the case of Coconut, she is a 4 pound Chihuahua, depending on when she last ate. And she came to us directly from her former owner. So she was an owner, kind of like, giving her to a new home. And Coconut was originally purchased from City Pets in the West Village.
Hmm.
Um, and they did a very good job of convincing this woman who had previously owned Coconut that she was from a family farm and it was idyllic and beautiful and there was no such thing as a puppy mill, and that didn't exist. And unfortunately, what revealed itself to be true about a year into Coconut living with her former owner is that she had some genetic, I don't know how to, she had congenital issues with her knees and hips.
Hmm.
And she absolutely needed double knee surgery on the back knees.
I
And
was
she,
gonna
she
say
could no
that
longer,
sounds
yeah,
expensive.
yeah, and exactly that was what it came down to, is that she couldn't afford the care that Coconut needed, and she needed 2 knee surgeries, and she needed a lot of physical therapy because she'd been dragging herself around by her front legs for a few years, and so her chest was huge and her butt was small, and she had disproportionate muscles. So with her, it wasn't behavioral issues, it was purely an investment, frankly, financially, but in time and caring for in her recovery. And now she's the sweetest, like, I'm sure, Annie, you meet a lot of Chihuahuas. Like, I think maybe I'm biased, but she ranks to me as one of the sweetest Chihuahuas I've ever met. She wouldn't harm a fly.
She really is,
She's
and she gets around
funny.
well. I didn't know that about her knee
Yeah.
surgeries because she
Yeah.
flies
We did
around
a
the
lot
house.
of physical therapy. Yeah. She's doing really well. And then, um, as you alluded to, our next rescue, Fifi, well, we had a good run. I actually just got a really bad bite today, and it was the first one of the year.
No.
But yeah. So Fifi came to us. We saw her on the Social Tees Rescue. Social Tees is a prominent New York rescue organization. They do absolutely wonderful work, and they do go and pull from New York City shelters. And Fifi had been an owner surrender at the New York City shelter, and she'd been turned in for, quote unquote, being vicious. She was, when we met her, she was 3 pounds as an adult, and I actually just weighed her the other day, and she's about 5.8 pounds as a healthy animal, to give you a sense of, like, she literally was half the weight she should have been.
Hmm.
um, and so I kind of was like, if someone didn't feed me, I'd probably be pretty vicious too. She can come hang out. And she really did come to us as, we're going to foster her, she can hang out here and decompress, we have experience with small rescue dogs, she'll have other dogs to learn to dog from. What we soon learned after she moved in is that she had really, really deep fear aggression issues, like extremely deep. Like, we could barely handle her or touch her. She was terrified of us. We were sort of terrified of her. It took she moved in, I would say, I think it was the first week of April, and it took 3 months of us just like living together, sort of near and around one another, before we started all really forming a relationship. And it was at that point that we decided to formally adopt her. And again, we knew what we were getting into. We knew, frankly, how dangerous she could be. And she's 6 pounds. So, like, even though I got a really bad bite today, it didn't break skin, right? So when I say
Hmm.
dangerous, it's like biting me or my husband is, or her groomer, sorry, Annie, is terrible, but she's not going to damage like someone's ligament. She's not going to rip someone apart. But the reality of Fifi is that there are plenty of other homes who could have done what we did. Um, plenty. There are few and far between homes, I think, who did what we did. And the main thing here was that we really invested in a 3-pronged approach, which was behavioral training. We worked with a trainer, including sending her to live with this trainer for, I think it was close to a month.
Mm.
we invested with our vet in going deep on medications to help alleviate her anxieties and help her. I mean, she was really struggling, and it was
Yeah.
awful to see. And then from our end, just really taking it slow and beginning to, like, for us, understanding what she needed. And with her, it was the biggest challenge because she needed so much and didn't have a lot to give in return. And I think that that's not what a lot of people think of when they think of getting a pet. And it's been immensely gratifying. It's one of the things I'm most proud of in my life is rehabilitating her. And when I say rehabilitating, I would caution that she will never be 100% trustworthy. Today's case in point, she hasn't bitten me for a year. She's been excellent, like snaps instead of bites, great bite inhibition. Today, she thought I was reaching for something that she thought was food and that she thought was hers. And that is a big trigger for her. And she clamped down. And I know, it's interesting, with enough training from my trainer for me now, I know exactly what I did wrong and how to avoid it. Like I was slacking off. So I think a dog like Fifi, you really have to reframe how you have to reframe your expectations of the relationship, and you have to reframe how you interact with that dog and how conscious you are of the signals that they're giving. It's a different kind of pet ownership than with Ella and Coconut. It's
Very much so. I mean, it's when you
yeah,
say rehabilitate, it's even, I mean, she's a mental health patient at this point that's coming from
yes,
extreme trauma, right?
yeah,
And what's
yeah,
probably saved her is she's tiny enough that, she
yeah.
hasn't been able to
The
cause
only
serious
reason
damage.
we
If she
always
was a
say,
larger dog, I don't
yeah,
know
she'd be gone.
that
Yeah,
they'd even try to adopt her out.
nope,
But it
they
is,
wouldn't have. I
yeah,
always
but
joke it's
it's
like she's like 2 pounds away and being a little less cute from being euthanized, because if she could break skin, like, that would be it. That would have been it for her. I don't think she would have even made it here.
Yeah, and in conversations with you, so for those who don't know, I own a company called Luxury Groomer, and Hilary's former groomer moved out of the country. Hannah Raymond, she's amazing. Look her up on Instagram as well, at the Urban Groomer. But I kind of came in after the fact. But knowing you for a little bit, it's hearing your stories about this journey that you've taken with Fifi, and it just breaks your heart because you're able to kind of see inside her little soul by seeing what her fears are. And it's like every time
Yeah.
you see what the fears are, sometimes sometimes you don't. Because you said she just randomly screams sometimes, right? Like just in the
Yeah,
other
yeah. She'll
room.
randomly, yeah, yelp or scream, and she has night terrors, which is the saddest
It's
thing.
just
Like,
so sad because you just think,
yeah,
what happened to this tiny, cute dog? I
yeah.
mean, it's just the
Beautiful
reality of,
animal.
you know, some of the bad things that happen out there. But I really love that you have been able to be creative and listen to her, and you try one thing. If that doesn't work, you try something else, and you try, and I just feel like you must be learning so much about any sort of dog behavior when you're faced with these kind of extreme challenges.
Yeah.
What's your favorite? You've named a few already. And I know you're so involved with a bit of, rescue stuff and a huge advocate for
Yeah,
it, obviously. What are kind of your favorite ones, maybe nationally, and then locally here in New York City? What are your top ones,
sure.
your go-tos?
Yeah, I mean, ASPCA, they have a New York office, and I will tell you, I'm embarrassed to say, I don't think that the organizations that are local around the country are all tied necessarily to the primary national ASPCA, but I think that generally speaking, those organizations seem to be pretty well run and are a fantastic resource. I also would say that, people are constantly reaching out to me saying, "Oh my God, you adopted all these little dogs. How did you do it?" I think, if I were to be telling a rescuer or would be rescuer how to approach rescuing a dog today, number one, research the local rescue organizations in your area. So, as I mentioned, Social Teas before, they're local to New York. They are really New York centric. They have a big presence on Instagram. They're very involved in the New York community, and any small city, town, state, like, everybody's got their local rescue orgs. And then second thing is get it, if you know you want to adopt a dog, get your applications in now. Like, don't wait until you see a dog that you want to adopt. Make sure you're approved, make sure you're in their roster. And
Yes,
then
just
that way,
to interrupt you there, because
yeah,
it's one thing, if it's their first time, they don't realize is, if it's anywhere near of a good, responsible rescue, there's a lot of paperwork.
yeah, there's a lot
Yeah.
of paperwork, and the people who are going to get prioritized when for outreach for a pet are generally the people who've already done the legwork on that paperwork. And it makes people feel like it's so hard to rescue, but if you can just get that done, you're not committing to any rescue, you're just filling out the papers. So So have that done. I would also say that if you're up for it, volunteering to foster or volunteering to do any kind of work for these rescues is an immensely helpful way for you to get in the door in terms of um, I hate to having your pick of the litter. I think
Mhm.
that people really appreciate it. It's not about skipping a line or anything like that. I think it's that these organizations want to support the people who support them, and they really love it when someone that they know falls in love with one of their animals. And so I
Yeah,
don't
and
think
when
that
you have
there's,
a history
yeah,
of caring, then they're
yeah,
seeing, if you are actually, you know, caring for the animals that they send you, and then you've got a
yeah.
better chance, obviously, of taking care in the future. But for those who don't know, the small dogs
Fostering
go really, really fast. So that's
really
kind of what
fast.
your
Yeah,
point was. People are saying, how did you land four small, adorable dogs?
yeah. Well, Fifi, Coconut, like I said, owner surrender. We happened to luck out on that one. Fifi, we Fifi had a lot of applications because she is beautiful.
Yeah,
That
she's
said, and
adorable.
if you go to Instagram, she is a particularly unique looking, beautiful little animal. But because she is so challenging, we really had to make a decision as a family, like, were we going to invest everything that she needs? And it's funny, at this point I feel like we have a pretty good thing going. The biggest investment is, like, she's not a dog you can like have your friends babysit. Like, she actually has to either go to a trainer or to a vet tech or someone like that who can
True. Yeah.
manage her. So when we go on vacation, she's an ongoing investment financially in a different way than our other pets. Um, and I think, in terms of what you were saying, Annie, like, the fostering is not the only way to get your foot in the door, and fostering is not for everyone, and I totally respect that. But there are other things you can do, whether it's organizing a towel drive or organizing a fundraiser, like in your backyard, or maybe if you have a bake sale. Like, there's so many ways to be creative to get involved with these organizations, and keep in mind that generally speaking, they are understaffed and overwhelmed. So anything you can do to make their lives easier helps you be at the forefront of their mind um, when they're thinking about who might be a good fit for their pets. And to your point, Annie, these really good rescues, they care. That's what they're looking for. They're not looking for who applied first. They're looking for, okay, well, who's going to be home enough for this dog, who understands, in our case, has the veterinary resources to get this dog the kind of medication she needs and the training she needs, like those kinds of things. um, they're looking at lifestyle and what they see and they've learned about that dog. So, don't take anything personally. And it's okay to ask, like, if you are rejected for any reason for a dog, it's okay to ask why, and then talk with them about what might be a better fit for you or how next time you can better position yourself. um, I only bring this up just because I think during the pandemic, rescue has become so popular, which is so wonderful. It's just made rescue quote unquote competitive, which is, like, it's unfortunate. It's not what rescue should be or the intention around it, but it's what it is, and that's a wonderful thing. Like, we want people to rescue. There's still so many amazing dogs. And then the final thing I would say is, do not overlook your local shelter. It is so easy with these rescue orgs who do, frankly, a real, because they're generally like more nimble. They do such a good job on social media. So you're getting fed these like amazing stories about these pets and beautiful photos on an ongoing basis. But your local shelters, like Fifi was at a local shelter before she was pulled. So if you're really serious about adopting a dog and you're not seeing what you want and you're having difficulty finding the right fit, like, go to your local shelter every Sunday morning and just have a look around. The staff will then get to know you. They'll get to know what you're looking for. They'll make suggestions for you, and they'll be on the lookout to help you find someone that might be right for you, as well as they get admitted to the shelter system.
Yeah, and
Um,
to add to that, sorry to interrupt again, that's I'm really
no,
good at
please.
that. They yeah, the paperwork, one point I wanted to make about that, the paperwork is lengthy and they ask you what sometimes seem like invasive questions, and things like that.
Yes.
I want people to realize that those questions are there because they've had an issue with that particular thing, and usually more
Hmm.
than 1,000 times. So they're asking that because they want to try to stop these negative things that happen in rescue. So it should just make you sad that those questions are there. But trust me,
Yeah.
they're not crazy people who are overbearing and looking. Because I know when someone looks at a rescue paper form for the first time, they're like, this is nuts. And they think it's some, really extremist behavior by the rescue agencies.
Yeah.
It's actually not. It's, just like warning labels on products. It's there because someone did the thing, right? So
Yeah. Yeah.
and the other thing, when you were saying research these organizations, one point I want to make is really do your research. Make sure they're 501c3. There are rescues
Yes.
that are false rescues. They will take dogs out of Humane Society and then they will put them up, and their fees are like 600, blah blah blah. Well, they paid
Yeah.
100 out of Humane Society. They're making a profit. They're reselling a rescue animal to you. If you
They're
can
not
do
just
the
doing from Humane Society, they're also going to the point. Puppy mill rescue has become so popular. When I rescued
mm,
Ella, like I didn't know anything about this or anything about puppy mill in general. Like she just was a dog I found in a shelter. I became educated along the way, as frankly she became Instagram famous and people started asking me where she came from, and I started doing research, and then I was like, oh my God, this is horrifying.
mhm.
And became a really outspoken advocate against it. But it's become really popular, and that like the dirty underbelly of that is these rescues are not only doing what you just said, but they're also going to auction and putting money in the hands of these auctioneers and puppy mills,
Mhm.
buying these puppies directly and then selling them at a markup. So we call it retail rescue
Mhm.
in our like advocacy world. So it's something to really watch out for. A few red flags that I can point out there is, to your point, the rescue fees. Like $600 is insane. If it's something that you think you would like pay for a puppy, it's insane. Like it's, that's your number one red flag. Number two, I think, is directly asking where they got the dog, where they're getting dogs and what they paid for them. I think that's fine.
And
I think,
follow up on that to make sure
yes,
that it's true. Yeah.
and if they're really defensive about it, it's probably not a rescue you want to work with. And then the final red flag, and I think this is the most obvious one, is do they have a constant influx of puppies, and are they purebred or designer mixes? And if
Mhm.
they do, they're buying those dogs, and you are
Yeah.
then
Really good point. Yeah.
you're essentially bypassing the store or the online retailer and just buying the dog. You're still putting money in the puppy mill's pockets. And I work really closely with the Humane Society of the United States on this issue, and it's awful. Like there's no real good answer, but the best thing we can all do is try and band together and create as little demand as possible for these pets. The pandemic has been horrifying in terms of puppy mill because the demand has shot up exponentially. Our latest rescue we haven't really talked about yet is actually a direct result of that. Um, and we actually had our vet over here today to give our new baby Poppy her vaccines, and she was saying that, like, especially at the beginning of the pandemic, left and right, it was people bringing in these tiny puppies that they had bought at stores or ordered online, and they were just in terrible shape. Those are all coming from puppy mills. A
Well,
reputable
I
breeder, a
did.
reputable rescue will
Yeah.
never sell online.
Yeah,
Just
and they
want to
usually
leave it at that
also
point.
will not give you a dog that's still physically sick until it's been properly treated, depending on,
Yeah.
if it's a lifelong issue, they're diabetic,
Yeah.
obviously. But we did the first episode of this podcast was with Dr. Lisa Littman, and it was just on puppies because myself as the groomer has been getting calls from these puppies that have been very recently brought in, and they've got kennel cough and they've got this and they've got that, and I'm like, oh man, this is not
Yep.
like,
Lisa's our vet, and she just vaccinated Puppy for Bordetella today because she was
yeah.
like, I don't know, you gotta get that in her. We don't know. I mean, we know where she came from. She came from Puppy Mill, but quickly her story, and I'll just share that
Yeah,
because I
yeah,
think it is
tell
a
us about
really good.
Poppy.
So Poppy the puppy, we're very creative over here. um, she was purchased from a puppy mill in Pennsylvania about 2, 3 weeks ago at about 9 weeks old. One thing to note with these really teeny tiny animals, they're very fragile. They shouldn't be removed from their moms. Well, they shouldn't be bred in the first place. And I say that as someone who sort of is in love with them. So that's a weird emotional thing that I have to cope with, but they shouldn't be bred to be this small anyway. Like this isn't the right thing to do for these animals. But if they are going to breed them, and if they are this small, they should be with their moms until at least 12, I think it's 12 to 14 weeks is ideal. They should not be released without any, education on what it means to care for a teeny tiny dog. And what that really means is these tiny dogs have a hard time regulating their sugar levels and their body heat. And so in the case of Poppy, she was purchased on a Saturday, and by Monday she's at the animal hospital because she's gone into hypoglycemic shock. And she become lethargic. And when these puppies, it becomes a cycle. It's like with humans where, when you start getting like that sugar, whatever, you can't eat. So you like, you're not eating, but you need to eat to stabilize. But if you don't eat, you keep getting worse and worse. And so this poor puppy ends up at the animal hospital, where ultimately I think, and this is not a criticism, and I don't mean this meanly. I think that a lot of people who buy these dogs don't realize what they're getting into with pet parenting until they see that first veterinary bill. And at the point where you're talking about checking a 9-week-old puppy into inpatient ICU, you're talking about a lot of money. So
Mm-hmm.
the family, for whatever reasons, and without judgment here, decided that that wasn't for them, and the puppy went into rescue and ultimately landed with us. And I look like this because I haven't slept in, what is it, like 8 or 9 nights now, because I'm up making sure that she's eating around the clock.
Well, she's what you
Um,
got her, what, like 11 weeks, right? Just
10 weeks, yeah,
10
10
weeks.
weeks. 10 and a half weeks is when she moved in with us. It's been getting better every single day. She's making a ton of progress. I think she'll be just fine.
Yeah,
Um,
their physiology is very delicate. Because they're just
yeah,
too
and you need
tiny.
to
Yeah.
know that. And then there becomes, well, it's a whole other thing, but we've been on the phone with our trainer like 6 times, because these health issues can get behavior problems when you're feeding them around the clock and they get used to like barking and on demand getting food. So it just becomes a whole cycle where number one reason older dogs get put into rescue is behavior.
Mm-hmm.
So you know, these are the things that us as rescue advocates are trying to help make people aware of. And I would say for first time pet owners, get an adult, know what you're getting, get a house trained dog, get a dog. I don't care if it's on the younger side, if you don't want to do senior rescue because it's not enough time. Senior rescue is I'm going to just advocate for that. Senior rescue is so rewarding, and they're so sweet, and like they love you so much, and no time is enough with your dogs. There's no amount of years that will ever be enough. And it is an incredible compassionate thing if you want to go that route. But in general, just an adult dog who can relieve themselves outside as a first time pet owner, it's just a pathway to a lot. You're going to be a lot more successful a lot quicker versus
Yeah,
first time pet
puppies are a
owners who take
lot
on
more
puppies.
work than people realize if it's their first one. It is,
Yeah, I forgot. I haven't had a puppy in 14 years. This is my first puppy in a really long time, and I love her, but whew, I'm
and
tired.
the senior pets as well. As someone who's, my father has had these, it's when you have an older person in your life and you want to get them, sometimes people thought, oh, they're lonely, I'm going to get them a puppy.
Mm.
That's a
No,
lot. That's a lot.
that's a bad
Get them
idea.
get them a 5-year-old dog, get them a 9-year-old. The last dog my dad adopted was 12 years old, and he had
That's
her
amazing.
for like 3-4 years. But I mean, he's older, he's had some surgeries, he's had this and that, but the dog was like, it's diabetic, it's 12, it just literally wants to go in the yard and pee and come back in, and it's still got a dog personality, and you're still getting this, but it
The
doesn't need
love
the
and the
physical
affection and the
work.
companionship.
Yeah, but it doesn't take
Yeah.
that physical requirement from the caregiver. So they're
Yeah.
really perfect companions for older people, or people sometimes even in assisted living, because like you said, once they're already trained, I mean, they're just so easy.
Oh my
when
God.
they're
Yeah. So
Yeah,
I gotta say, for all the challenges with Fifi, she and Coconut came to us fully house trained, which was
nice.
like amazing.
Hmm.
And um, yeah, I don't know how I would house train a dog like Fifi. So at least we didn't have to deal with that one. It was amazing. It made it so much easier. You can more easily fall in love with a dog and build that relationship when you're not having to deal with pee all over your house. Like it's, again, we chose to take on a puppy. I haven't done it in ages. I forgot. You forget. um I don't regret it, but it'll be a long time before I do it again, that's for sure. It'll be another 14 years. And for first time dog owners, rescuing a, as you said, like not puppy, and they are still puppies by the way until like 3 years old,
Oh
and maybe
yeah.
even a little longer than like,
Oh yeah.
puppy energy is real. And if you are someone who like, know yourself, if you're someone who wants to like nap on the couch on your Saturdays, you need a dog that's going to do that with you. If you're someone who's super active and you love to run 10 miles every weekend, then get a dog who could do that with you. And these are the kinds of conversations to have with the rescue organization, and they're
Mhm.
looking to place those kinds of dogs with those kinds of people. They want these adoptions to be successful. They don't want to see animals return to them.
Yeah,
Um,
try not to choose by looks alone.
yeah, I think one thing I've learned, because I'm going to admit, like I have bias, right? Like I like teeny tiny dogs, but I'm also a spaniel girl. Like I see a spaniel and I love a spaniel. I don't have a lifestyle for a spaniel. I'm never going to run a spaniel or exercise it enough to have a spaniel, but they're beautiful to look at. I know that about myself. With teeny tiny dogs, I don't know. I have a thing. Whatever. I think any smallish dog under 10 pounds is good by me. But try, if you can broaden that. Like, I think that if you'd asked me before I got involved in rescue what my type was, I would have said, oh, well, it's what Ella is. It's like this Yorkie mix. Like, I only want those. And now I'm like, no, anything that's sort of like under 10 pounds and is cute can come live with us. And
But you keep
I
getting the
think
cutest ones, though.
I will say I definitely did something right somewhere along the way. I'm very lucky in terms of the creatures who come into my life. But I think that they have a look about them that's similar. So I clearly have a type, but they're not the same. And if you can let go of like, I'm a, spaniel person, or I'm a Frenchie person, like try and let go of those things and be open to the kind of dog that's right for your lifestyle. Um, I know how hard. I'm super aesthetically driven, so I'm not judging people who are like breed specific, breed centric. It's not impossible to adopt a purebred. I have a purebred Chihuahua here. I have 3 designer mixed breeds. Like, I have them. You can do it. It takes longer. I would say, I honestly believe after the pandemic, there's going to be a plethora of doodle activity in the system. So, be prepared and
Yes.
be ready, fill out those applications, be ready to absorb your doodle if that's what you're looking for. Know that they are very, very high energy, and that they are, every dog is different. I don't mean to generalize, but like, if a doodle is entering rescue, it's probably, I would say, probably behavior issues. So just be aware of that. Shouldn't discourage you. Just know, like, you're gonna have to invest some time and probably a little bit of money to like make that relationship work
Yeah,
for you.
most of the doodles are a mix between 2 working breeds. So
Yeah,
keep that in mind because they need their mind and their body worked. Well, before we wrap up, I wanted to ask, you and Ella Bean are such advocates. Is there any events or anything going on coming up? Because everything's so different now, but these rescues still
yeah,
exist and still need people's money and attention. Do you know of anything coming up or
I do.
um
There's a few things. Animal Haven in New York is having a virtual gala on May 19th. So you can Google the Animal Haven Gala and find tickets to that. And what's really fun is like, these galas, oftentimes when they were in person, like the tickets are prohibitively expensive to attend, and like, I mean, a lot of money to attend. And,
mm,
and it's great because it's raising money for these rescues. But these virtual galas are like really accessible. So it's a great way to get involved at a lower price point, and you're still doing something really good. So that's on May 19th, that I'm aware of. I'm working on something with the Humane Society of the United States, which I'll, keep everyone posted on my Instagram. That will also be a virtual rescue event. And again, I think that as we enter the spring, we're going to start seeing rescue events like come back to life in person. Um, and if you want to
yeah, I think
rescue,
when
offer to
people are
volunteer, get involved.
yeah, I'm sure there's going to be some of the ones that like to be held outdoor anyway. I'm sure there's going to be that
Yeah,
because rescue events, they need people to see
yeah,
doggies so that they get them. So
yeah.
they can probably do that outside.
But your local organizations probably, I mean, they're like the big local organizations tend to have galas or events, and they've all moved online, and they're all going to be promoting them. And gala season is coming, so there'll be a lot of virtual events there. But that's a great idea. I'll put together a resource and maybe link to it in my Ella's blog.
Awesome. Well, thank you so, so much for being here. Is there anything else you want to say before we wrap up?
I just want to thank you so much for having me on. And I want to thank you so much for taking such good care of the beans when you are here to give them their beautiful haircuts. We are so lucky to have you in our life. And I know in particular, I just want to thank you for risking life and limb to make sure that Fifi remains adorable.
That's so sweet of you, but it is my pleasure because they are undeniably cute. Everyone go look at them on the Instagram because I can. All right. Well,
Thank
thank
you
you
so
so
much.
much. And
Have
until
a great
next
rest of your
time.
night.
All right.
Yep.
You
Talk
too.
to you soon.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening and follow us for more wherever you get your podcasts. Also, check us out on Instagram at A Brief Pause.